It is so rare that you get an all-time great matchup in a win or go home game between two teams that despise one another and fan bases that go at one another. And yes, we've seen Bears, Packers in an NFC championship game in recent years. We've seen the Yankees and Red Sox in an American League championship series. You've seen this type of stuff before, but you've never seen it before on a stage in which it could be the final curtain, to use the Sinatra phrase, for an all-time great, 40 years in the business, synonymous with one of the branding of the franchise. It's so rare that there's an all-time great coach, manager involved. And to see this matchup go down for the first time ever in a winner-go-home game in the NCAA tournament, in the Final Four, to see Duke and Carolina face each other for the first time in the NCAA tournament in the Final Four, and it's Mike Krzyzewski's final ride. It is unprecedented. We talked about it. We couldn't think of another situation like it. I called it on Friday the greatest rivalry matchup ever for these circumstances alone. And I understand that this sounds like an exaggeration. Greatest rivalry matchup ever. Stage is set. And to see the stage get set like that and the game to not only meet the expectation level, but exceed it, that's the good stuff. And that's what Duke UNC turned into. And the fact that North Carolina gets the final lead change of the night, the 18th lead change of the night, and that North Carolina is the team to bounce Duke and end Coach K's career is something you couldn't even conjure up. Especially when you now heard, as Jim Nantz was talking about on Saturday night, his first loss as a Duke head coach was against North Carolina, and his last loss as Duke head coach was against North Carolina. And in his entire run, Coach K's magical run, winningest head coach of all time in NCAA men's basketball. The great rivalry between Duke and North Carolina in the Coach K era ends with 50 wins, 50 losses, straight up.
Wow.
And there was an 18th lead change in the night. That turned out to be the final one. Unbelievable. What a run for North Carolina in Hubert Davis's first year as head coach there in North Carolina. What a run. They make the tournament as an 8 seed because of a late season run. That included ending Coach K's career and Cameron with a loss in front of the Duke crazies, the Cameron crazies. And Duke had a chance to wipe that all out on Saturday night. And they're going back and forth. And I'm living and dying with every possession. And North Carolina is not making a single substitution. It was kind of like Hoosiers. My guys are on the floor. Coach, where are you? Where are your guys? My guys are on the floor. That kid Baycott with his 90 million rebounds turns his ankle. I couldn't believe that Nance said that was their first substitution of the second half, and it came with 5 minutes to go.
And he came back in the game.
And then that stone shot by Love, that three-pointer to make it a two-possession game late. What a stone shot that was. What an absolute guts and glory shot to take a three, to make it a two-possession game late, and put Duke truly on the outs barring any sort of unforeseen mishap. And I was even one of the moments I was just screaming at my screen. And this would be something we'd be talking about today if Duke won. Hubert Davis calling a timeout in the middle of his free throw shooter taking 2 shots at the end of the game when Duke doesn't have any timeouts left. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm like, you're icing your own guy and you're letting Coach K set things up for his team. But it all worked out in the end, and there's no second guessing this. This is it, folks. I'm sorry, TJ Jefferson. I know you're a Duke Blue Devil fan, and I know so many of them. And I know folks who know me are going to say this is bitter stuff. This is bitter stuff. Well, because Duke denied the Fab Five, and Duke's denied so many people throughout the Coach K tenure. And in the same way that people despise Tom Brady, people despise Mike Krzyzewski because always great, always good, never dips, always there. When are you going to leave? Oh, you're not leaving. You're still there. Even now, people are thinking Coach K can't walk away from this now the way that it ends. You're one of those folks.
Yeah, of course.
Waiting to hear that Coach K is going to tell John Shire, take a sheet, John.
Yeah, hey, relax. I got this.
Give me another 360.
Run it back.
We're
365.
We'll do this again one more time. I can't walk out like this because there is no argument anymore, which is another remarkable facet of this situation and sequence. As I mentioned, greatest rivalry game ever. We've never seen a matchup between two teams that despise each other for the first time. It happens for the first time in the NCAA tournament. We've never seen it in a do-or-die game happen for the first time. Yankees, Red Sox had that one-game playoff with Bucky Dent. Then they did face each other in the ALCS a couple times and split. And neither game ended the reign of an all-time great. Right. Unless you want to throw Grady Little in there, but we can talk about that later on. But you know what I'm saying? Like the Bears and the Packers. It wasn't like Vince Lombardi's last game.
Right.
We've never seen a situation like this, ever, which is why I hyped it like this. And now that it's actually happened the way that it's happened, have we ever seen a situation where, in terms of a rivalry, it's not cyclical, like I keep talking about with Michigan, Ohio State? Told these Buckeye fans, at one point, I'm going to come back around. You wait. Took a little bit longer than I wanted to, and it might, it's the reason why I'm living my best life right now. I don't know if I'm going to have something to say this coming November either. But it's hard to not imagine, or I'll take out the double negative. It's hard to imagine that this is not a conversation anymore between Duke and North Carolina. It's over. It's over. Unless Hubert Davis lasts 39 more years at the job and Duke and North Carolina face each other in the final of an NCAA tournament in 2060? Right? And he's the all-time winningest head coach in the history of Carolina. He tells Dean Smith, move over. Honestly, Duke fans have got to wait like 4 decades to say, got you back. How is this not done? You're a Duke fan. Can you say anything to a North Carolina fan ever again?
I mean,
you can.
I could say something.
I understand.
But
but they're just going to laugh at you.
Just
it's
gonna laugh.
over.
Yeah. And by the way,
it's over.
It's not as bad right now, but if tomorrow morning,
yes,
the Tar Heels are the champions of the world, then that is put the whipped cream and the cherry on top of your sundae.
And to Hubert Davis's credit, he was just like, those 2 wins against Duke and Cameron, and your Final Four is not going to do us a darn thing against Kansas. He's already turned the page. He also, World Series wasn't over when the ball went through Buckner's legs. True. The gold medal wasn't awarded to the Miracle on Ice after beating the Russians. But still, like, this is a ton of house money. And how about this? Just to bring it all full circle. How about this? That it went from, it goes from Coach K. This is his final ride. Yeah. Everything about Coach K.
Farewell.
And then just like that, it's now the Roy Williams Bowl tonight.
Yeah.
Carolina versus Kansas. Yeah. Roy's going to be sitting there in his mask.
Who's he rooting for?
I don't know if he's going to have that split mask where it's Kansas on one side and North Carolina on the other.
But he's a Tar Heel. He played there. He coached under Dean Smith. He's rooting for North Carolina.
It's now the Roy Williams Festival. He'll be sitting there tonight.
Which nobody saw coming.
Who saw that coming? It's all about Roy Williams now. As Duke gets bounced by North Carolina, the Tar Heels end Coach K's Cameron career and then end his career, period, by beating him in the Final Four. And your guttural reaction, TJ, speaks to how Duke fans can only grunt because the conversation and actual conjugation of verbs and sentences formed and paragraphs made and arguments proffered and countered, there's no back and forth anymore in the history of this rivalry. Until, 2060, and Hubert Davis is the winningest coach of all time, and then they face each other in the final game because it can't be in the Sweet 16, can't be in the Elite Eight, because this is the Final Four. I mean, this is it. Oh, my goodness. When have we ever seen an all-time rivalry in the history of sport just ended in terms of an argument?
So are we going to ignore?
Yes.
Okay.
What are we ignoring?
He knows what I'm going to say. Are we going
Coach K's whole career.
Are we ignoring?
It's done.
Are we ignoring the 5 national championships?
No, of course not.
Because when you say it's over, then it means like this is almost like the Cowboys thing where we get crap because we haven't won in a while, right? But we still have 5 rings, and only 2 other teams have that.
That doesn't wipe it out. I mean, Bill Walton's going to join us shortly here, and I'm sure he's going to talk a lot about Wooden. I mean, who knows better to have this conversation?
Yeah. It doesn't wipe it out.
It doesn't wipe it out. But North Carolina has as many dubs, right?
But there's a pretty big cloud hanging over it now.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
It doesn't wipe anything out. No, I mean, his accomplishments are remarkable. I think I saw his final record was like 1,200 and 300, 1,200 and something and 300 and something.
Yeah, I mean,
he won 75% of his games.
It's not the Back to the Future photo, but there's a stink.
His accomplishments are his accomplishments. But in terms of you and I arguing over Yankees-Red Sox.
Right.
In terms of this rivalry.
Even with, Aaron Boone hitting that home run and Bucky Dent hitting that home run, you come back at me and you're like, you were up 3-0.
Yeah. And we won the World Series that year.
Correct.
Yeah.
And how many World Series have you won since then? And we can go back and forth. Yeah. And it's all cyclical. Even Michigan, Ohio State, we'll go back and forth. It's all cyclical.
But nobody was retiring.
In the Final Four in the first time you've ever met.
right.
In the NCAA tournament.
Insane.
There's no there anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.